All right, in this video I want to talk about your personal logo and how you might go about working on making it. Um, I have purchased some materials that we're going to use later on for making a business card. Now the first thing we're going to do with this personal logo though is to make a vinyl sticker that you can use to stick on things. So we'll use both your 4x4 positive negative design and your personal logo to make some vinyl stickers this week, and then later on we'll recycle both of those files and we'll design a business card. And as I mentioned, I've purchased some aluminum, anodized aluminum metal, right? Is there a metal business card made out of aluminum? Anodizing is a coating where they actually color the surface of the metal. And our laser cutter that we have access to at school, and then also the laser cutter that I have in my own personal studio, it cannot cut metal. It can cut wood, and it can cut plastic, acrylic, cork, fabric, things like that. But it cannot cut through metal. What it can do is it can etch. It can etch metal. Especially coated metals like anodized aluminum or even stainless steel that's been coated. And I'll try to post some pictures and stuff of some things I've done in the past. But my goal is that I'm going to be taking the designs you make next week in Rhino, and we're going to be designing a business card that we will then output. So I'll be showing you how that's done. We'll be outputting for a different digital fabrication machine, not a vinyl cutter, but instead a laser cutter. So let's go ahead and get rolling on this. So I'm going to use my picture command to bring in my logo that I did in my sketchbook. So I just kind of did a real quick crude mock-up of what I wanted. All right, so we're going to do something like this. Again, I'm not worried right now about dimensions. I just want to think about getting this accurate. Right now it's really rough and kind of coarse, and so we're just going to come up with something that we can create that's clean and crisp, closed regions, that will make a good sticker that's easy to pull out the details that we're going to, as we cut it, we've got to weed out those bad parts that we don't want. And so I just want to make a nice clean design. So I think where I'm going to start is probably just some guidelines. Actually, let me back up. Let's go ahead and we will switch to a different layer. We'll lock the initial layer that is our drawing, right? I can name that, drawing, and then maybe this is going to be actual logo 2D, and let's go ahead and say file, save, and let's say this is FF logo. Right, and we'll say save. So now we're all prepped, ready to go. So drawing in the red layer. So I'm going to start in with some guidelines first. One of the first things I'm going to do is probably put some sort of symmetry line down the middle, and I am going to hold down Shift in this case just to keep everything vertical. You'll notice that my original image was not all that straight. So if I wanted to, I could go ahead and straighten this image by turning on my layer, and I'll say transform, rotate. And I can use this as actually let's use this as a tool, and then we know we want right here, we want this to be kind of like straight, so maybe I want to rotate that. So if I hold down Shift, it should lock it. So now it's more equal in some way. So now I can lock that back. I just want to make sure that logo is straight. We don't want that logo to end up being like cocked to one angle or something. So this is a case where I can do an offset, a curve offset. So let's do an offset on this. We can give it a dimension. I want to show you right now my dimension, my offset is way large, right? So if I type in 0 and enter, it will let me, whoops, let me do that one more time. Let's do 0, enter. It's not letting us, oh, it's having me select, that's weird. Normally you can change, let's do distance, there we go. Let's do 0 there, and then it will let me select. So if I turn on, I can turn on near, and I can select what I want that distance to be. So then I hold down Shift, I can kind of lock that distance. And there's my new offset, and I can go click there. I'll hit enter again to repeat it, and I'll do one there. So that's kind of formed the two sides of my FF, right? And that should be pretty good in terms of the space and the gap that I want in there. All right, now let's go ahead and we'll just draw a line coming down here. Again, we can decide if we like the angle of that, and then let's go do that, and then we're done with that one. So now, if I wanted to, I could just transform that using my mirror command and use that initial guideline, and it should match up. It should touch there, and it does. So that looks pretty good. Now, if I wanted to, I could use this. I could explode this, and I could use an offset. If I want this to be parallel, I could use an offset in this case. And so we'll just do curve offset, and we'll set a new distance, right? So let's say 0, enter first, and then we'll go from here to about here. I'll click there, and you can see that it doesn't quite extend all the way down. That's okay. I'm not worried about that right now. Do the same thing here. We can see if the distance is the same. Probably should keep that distance the same, I think, just for the logo, sake of the logo. And then let's take that one and offset it, and let's see what that one looks like. We might want to alter those. We'll see. And then I could do the same thing with this. I could offset it, and then this one I may make a little heavier, right? So the distance on this one, we'll do 0, enter, and then let's do something that's maybe in the region of about there. All right, so now we got these lines, and it looks kind of like a mess, but I'm going to basically extend these lines. So let's show you a command called curve extend. And I want to show this because a lot of times what I'll see students do, they'll say, oh, I'll just draw another line, and I'll just extend off that. No, don't do that. That's not clean. You're adding another point to that line. So we're going to do curve extend. And if you just do the first curve extend, it's going to ask for a boundary. Well, the boundary is this line. And then we just click on the lines we want to extend, and it will automatically make them touch. Man, that's just so much easier than, trying to like make that work. And I was a student, I tried all these stupid workarounds because I didn't know the right commands. And so take the time, learn those commands and how to use them, and it will make your life so much easier. So now that I've got that selected, I'm just going to come in and trim. So I can trim away this. We can trim our excess here. Can trim there, and there, and then there. And then I'm just going to hit enter. I'm not going to worry about it. I can just go ahead and grab these and just delete these, so I don't have to worry about trimming these. And now we can just take this, and this, and we'll say transform mirror, and we'll use that center guideline, making sure to snap the ends. And now we've got this logo that we can turn off this, and then I'm just going to go ahead and start trimming out the rest of it. So we'll hit trim on this. Should be able to get rid of those. Should be able to get rid of that. And now we've got our logo, right? So I think we're good to go. The only thing we need to do is just make sure everything's joined. And we can click that, and click that, we can click that, click that, click that, click that, click that, click that. And it closed it, so we know it's a closed region. Auto close that. So now we've got our logo. So, this would be suitable for us to be able to start working with to export, right? So the next step would be, well, obviously if I'm going to export this in for our vinyl cutter, we're going to export as in inches. So I would go to file settings, and we would change our units to inches. And I'll say, do you want to scale? We'll say yes. And then you can see this gets kind of a certain size. Now let's take a measurement of this. Let's do a lined dimension, not linear dimension, but a line dimension, and we can figure out like how large this is. All right, so that's 0.18. Right, so this dimension, we're a little less than 1/8 of an inch wide. This is where having a pair of digital calipers in front of you can help you out a lot. So you can actually, open them up to 0.18 inches and actually visually see it, because I know a lot of you probably have problems visualizing dimensions in real life. So I know I want this to be a sticker. We talked about this being the 3x3, I believe, for your logo. So I'm just going to take this and say transform scale, And because this is a 2D object, we're scaling it two-dimensionally. And I'm going to click here and here, and I'm just going to say 3, right? And now if I measure this dimension, align dimension, this should be from here to here 3 inches perfectly, and it is. And you know, if your logo doesn't fit in a perfect 3 by 3 square, that's not a big deal. I just want it to be in that ballpark, but I can do a measurement here and find out how large we are. So we're a little over 3 1/4. So one of the dimensions should be 3 inches. That's the only stipulation I have on this assignment, is that you have that. So if you've got this size to the size that we want, our next step is to export this for vinyl cutting. And for our vinyl cutter, we need a Illustrator file or an AI file or a DXF or a DWG. In our case, we're just going to use an AI file. So I select the object and I say File, Export Selected. So if I had other things in here like that I'd drawn, like, you know, I can have all this other, you know, garbage in here that I've drawn. But if I only want to export just that logo, I can say File, Export Selected. And then you're going to choose AI, Adobe Illustrator, as your file type. And we'll save this to our desktop as well. So it's FF logo, and we'll say Export. And this is the important step. You need to make sure that you select Preserve Model Scale 1 inch equals 1 inch. If it said 1 inch equals 1 millimeter, it's not going to export at the right scale. So you want 1 inch. So change this if this is a different unit, but we want 1 inch equals 1 inch because we've already established the 3 inches that we wanted. And we'll just go ahead and hit Export. And so what that'll do is it'll give us a file on our desktop. You'll notice it says down here, file successfully saved as users flood desktop FF logo AI. Now that doesn't mean that my Rhino file is saved. Notice this, my black dot is there, so I know my Rhino file has not saved. So I need to hit Command S or File Save to save my Rhino file as well that has all my changes done, right? And you'll notice it turned black again because I made changes. So let's hit Command S, and now we know, or Control S if you're on a PC, and now we know we've saved that logo. So we now have a logo, an FF logo right here that we can use, and eventually we're going to use a program called Sure Cuts a Lot. And so I'm just going to go ahead and open that up for you real quick. I'll do another separate video on this. But Sure Cuts a Lot is the vinyl cutting software that we use in our labs at school. And so I'll do a separate video on this, but I just want to show you. We'll do Not Now. Say New Project, and we can say, you know, we don't worry about that right now. We'll say OK, and then I can say File, Import, and this will assure me that you know, if I did the right things, there's my 3 by 3 logo, right? So we're 1, 2, 3. It's perfect, right? There's no scaling done in the program. We've got the logo ready to cut in vinyl. Ready to go. Okay, so that's going to be the next step that we're going to take in cutting this in vinyl. I'm going to cut several of these for you, and then you'll be able to weed them. So this was a very basic thing. I do want to go back though and show you just a few things. Say no to that. I want to show you a few things that you can start playing with in Rhino, and you know, one of the things that I could do on this is I could, now that I have these joined, I could do some sort of offset on these, right? So we could just play with the 2D qualities of this. Let's just do that real quick. And maybe want to do something like where's a real slight offset. Now you can get to where your lines are too thin, and when you vinyl cut, they lift out of the vinyl. So you want to be careful with the detail, the amount of detail, but I think at 3 by 3 we should be okay. I could play with adding other things into this. So do expand upon the potential. Maybe this is a case where we want to, like when I'm working with Rhino, a lot of times what I'm doing is I'm making lots of copies and pastes, or lots of copies and pasting them in, and then I can test different things, right? Like maybe I want this to be solid, and I want this to be, you know, just the outline. Now I'm going to show you. I'm going to switch to a different layer. I'm going to show you a tool that can help you start to think about negative and positive, because that's what gets difficult with both your negative and positive design, is thinking about what is negative and what is positive. There's a command called hatch, and it's very similar to infill on Illustrator, but basically it'll say, what do you want to hatch? And so I can select those things, hit enter, and then it gives me options for different patterns. I will add that the new version of Rhino, the work in progress, has a lot more options for different shapes, but you can choose, and you'll notice these are pluses, little plus signs, but we can change the scale of those. So let's say, like, instead of that, it's like 0.5 and tap, and you'll notice these little details will get put in there. I like just working with solid for this right now, but you can start playing with how this might look. Now, the hatch will be its own object, okay? And so you'll notice it's like a surface with a color applied to it. So in the new version of Rhino, you've got gradients that you can do. You can do gradient colored fills. There's lots of options, and that'll be available. I think on the PC version that is available right now, but on the Mac version it's not there. So I will do a separate work in progress version of hatches. And at any point, these hatches can be changed. Like when I have a hatch select, I can change the object properties. I can change it to a linear pattern instead, right? So when I select that hatch, it's separate from the curves. Now, I don't think that you want to probably do this for your vinyl, for your final vinyl export. I think we just want the line work only. But if you were thinking about, because otherwise you get all these slices through there. But if you were thinking about this in terms of just playing with solids only, to get a feel on how you might weed the logo out, like we might get rid of this part, so this would be open, and then this would be solid. So it's kind of a neat kind of play between those two. But if you turn off your red, you can kind of get a sense of what that would look like as a colored sticker. I've got different colored vinyls. I've got some kind of high-tech. I've got some carbon fiber. We'll probably cut some of yours in carbon fiber. A synthetic carbon fiber vinyl. So we can just kind of play with the look of it. So I'm going to send you, once you export your file, using just the curve work, right, not your other things, you'll be able to send that to me, and then I will I'll print a bunch of different versions that I'll let you weed out. But I think I just wanted to stress the importance of coming back and now this is the strength of Rhino, right? We can copy, we can paste, and we can do variations of a logo, okay? All right, one last thing I want to show you then that could kind of blow the doors wide open. Let's take this logo and let's do a solid extrude on it. So I want to show you in the other views what this is going to look like. So let's do zoom extents. So let's take this particular logo and let's say solid extrude planar curve straight. And I'm going to do just one side, not both sides, and I'll extrude this. All right, now if I turn on my shaded view, we can see we've taken my logo and we have extruded it upward. Right now, there's this really cool feature. I usually don't teach this in Rhino for a while, but I want to go ahead and show you because I want to see what you all come up with. But I'm gonna kind of rotate this. Let's see, I don't want it that direction though. Let's take this and this, and let's rotate it like this, and let's get this kind of in a view that we like. So okay, so let's just take these and we're gonna move these in the perspective window kind of out of the way from everything else. And I basically want to like kind of get this at a point where I've got a perspective that I like. Yeah, maybe it's something like this. Yeah, let's do, there we go. That looks pretty good. Now, what I can do with this is when I'm in this viewport, I can click on this object, select it, and I can say make 2D. And this will bring up a window and it'll say, do you want the perspective view? Do you want top view? You want front view? Well, we're in the perspective view, so we want the perspective view. And it'll say, do you want to, you want object properties from input object, which is what we want. You can say to maintain output layers, we'll leave that. You can select whether you want hidden lines shown. I think I maybe will keep that for now. And we can also group the output, and then we'll say apply. And basically what it'll do, it doesn't look like it did anything, right? But if we go back over here, look what it did. In our top view, it gives us a 2D version, right? So this has no thickness to it, this logo. but we've taken a 3D logo and we've converted it into a 2D object from a 3D perspective that we had. So let's go back and do that again. Let's get it reposed. So any posing that we do of this is going to translate. But this is a neat way to take a very basic logo and kind of like alter the way that might look two-dimensionally. This might be good for some of you graphic designers as well. Maybe I just want to do a straight on, but like, you know, I want it to have this kind of three-dimensional effect. So let's do something like that, right? So we're showing a little bit of the edge. Let's see, let's try this again. I want to show just a little bit of the edge up over the top, something like that. All right, and I might even, I'm going to pull this, I'm going to modify this a little bit with Gumball. I'm going to shrink it just a little bit so we get a little bit more of our logo. There we go. That looks pretty good. That's gonna look cool. All right, so then we say make 2D, and then we say apply, and then I'm going to do it. We'll save that one. We'll move that one over. Okay, and then let's do the same thing. Let's hit it again. Make 2D. This time let's turn off hidden lines, and we'll apply, and then we'll get another one. Whoops, did not do it. Let's try that again. I messed up my view, didn't I? Let's do that again. Make 2D, and let's do apply. There we go. Yeah, look at that. So now we wind up with this logo, right? That, and I need to adjust that edge. We probably don't want that edge to show right there, so it's consistent. But man, this can allow you to take a two-dimensional thing, turn it into a three-dimensional thing, and then back into a two-dimensional thing, and you get this completely different effect, right? So I thought that might be a cool thing for you to play with your logo if you want to start playing with three-dimensionality, but then reduce back to 2D. And then we'd have to run this back through like our, let's ungroup this real quick so you can see. Actually, what I might do is just delete this, because I like the way this one looks. And then, well, let's go back and undo that. Let's just take this one and transform, and we will mirror this one kind of down the middle. That one looks better anyway. We can get rid of, let's just take these and these. They should be able to grab these and just move these together. We can get rid of that one, and we wind up with a much cleaner look, right? And then we would want to play, as I was saying earlier, with, you know, our hatch. So maybe let's ungroup this, and let's ungroup this, and then we could just join, you know, lines. Now, in this case, I might want to create a duplicate line. So I'm going to copy and paste one of these lines. So we'll have two lines there. I can join this to this, and then I can still have another line right there to join to this line, so it'll be a closed region, right? And you'll have to do that for each one of these. So you want to duplicate, so copy, paste, and we'll do copy, paste, and copy, paste, and copy, paste, and copy, paste. And so what we can do is then join, you know, this to one of those, to one of those, to that, to that, to that, and then one of those. I should have copied that other one, but you're getting the idea. And to this, and we can do that and that. And so now what I can do is I could hatch. I could do different colors, right? So let's drop down to this, and now let's say hatch. So I could do this in one color, right? And then I could do another hatch, and we'll select this, and we get that. So we could even think about doing like 2-color stickers, right? Like where we're combining for that logo. We want a 2-color or 3-color logo. It's totally possible to do that. You'd have to cut separate vinyls and then realign them, but you could do that. So again, you're going to be sending me a file of what you want cut for this personal logo, but I just thought I would show this as a way that you can take something quite simple and modify and play with it. So keep in mind, like, once you get your logo drawn, it shouldn't just be like a one and done where you haven't tweaked it or played with it. This is an older logo that I had designed a while ago, so that's why it's kind of quick for me to throw this together. But I spent a lot of time thinking about this and a lot of different iteration on paper before I actually came up with this one. But hopefully this will give you a good overview. I'm going to do a separate video on outputting to Vinyl Cutter and how that works. Other than, this export will stand as a video for that. But look for future videos on the actual vinyl cutting and how that process works. This weekend I'll spend a lot of time getting ready to vinyl cut your stuff next week so I can get those sent back out to you from your design. So good luck, have some fun with this. I hope this is something that you can continue to use for a few years once you've developed it. So hope you enjoyed the video, and hopefully you can try out those different commands and test them out. Have a good one.